nice with the ice so smooth. If you messin' me, you messin' with the goons. Pucks in deep 5-hole, then we celly. Hockey with the boys and we trip like Letter Kenny. With dollar bills, we got the loonies. Paul and Braydon, a couple beauties. Gloves coming off if you wanna tangle, or I can hit you with the Dirty Dangles. Yeah, this is Dirty Dangles.
Yeah, what's going on, Dirty Danglers? That there was Kairos, that's K-I-R-O-S, the best from the west side of Kelowna. Chapoy. What's up, Braydon?
What's going on, Paul? What's going on, Dirty Danglers?
What's up?
Decided to do another podcast. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's just busy with school and stuff. But hey, we're ready to get back at her because we got some hockey to talk about.
Good old hockey. I mean, it was a pretty slow couple weeks anyway, so I didn't really miss too much.
Yeah, you know what? Teams are winding down, getting ready for playoffs. I believe there's about 8 to 10 games left.
Yeah.
Actually, closer to 8 to 9 at the point we're filming right now. So.
Yeah, because we're filming on the Thursday, the 21st. So.
At what time?
Oh, you want the exact time?
Well, I mean, you went to your watch to see what day it was.
Okay,
so
fine.
Like
2:26 p.m.
2:26 p.m.
There you go.
Yeah. Sweet.
You guys know now.
All right, so we got a little quiz going on though, eh?
Yeah, so I think for to start off the pod, we're going to do a little quiz just to be a little more interactive, be more engaging for you guys, and hopefully you guys can join along. So what Paul and I are going to do is go through the alphabet, and through each letter, we're going to say the last name of a current or former NHLer. And, yeah, just join along. It's a lot harder than it seems. It'll throw you off, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So you want to start it off there, Braydon?
All right, yeah, let's do it.
There, bud.
So for A, Maxim Afinogenov.
Daniel Alfredson.
B, Michael Buryevsky.
Todd Bertuzzi.
C, Sidney Crosby.
Charlie Coyle.
D, Chris Draper.
Travis Dermott.
E, Louis Eriksson.
Jonathan Erickson.
You're just taking another one out there, eh? For F, Philip Forsberg.
Nikita Filatov.
G, Adam Green.
Samuel Girard.
H, Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Silent H.
Silent H.
Silent H.
Ron Hainsey.
I, Jerome McGinley.
I don't got one. Holy Cowboys.
J, Ryan Johansson.
Cam Janssen.
For K, Eric Carlson.
Kulikov.
L, Pat LaFontaine.
That's a good one. Guy Lafleur.
For M, Mark Messier.
Martinuk. Jordan Martinuk from the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, for N, Marcus Naslund.
Peter Nedved.
O. Alex Ovechkin.
Jamie Alexiak.
P. I can't. That's a miss for me.
Felix Potvin.
Oh, that's a good one. Q. Pat Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
R. Maurice Richard.
Ricaldo? Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. S. Matt Sundin.
Oh, okay. S.
Yeah.
Carl Soderstrom.
T. Tuvo Teravainen. Nice. For you, Linus Allmark.
Oh, Linus Allmark. Oh, man. You know. Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. For V, I got nothing for
Chris
V.
Versteeg.
Right, that's a good one. For W, Kyle Wellwood.
Alexander Wenberg.
X. I don't think there's an X.
No. But we still get a scratch on that.
Yeah. For Y, I have no idea.
Steve Yzerman.
Oh, there you go. All right. And for Z, that's another scratch for me. I can't think
Nikolai
of it.
Zheredev.
Oh, there you go.
6 overall in, what was it, 2006?
Yeah. I
Or
think
2002?
I think so. I can't remember. I'm not very good at those stats.
Yeah, he's basically a Russian guy that went back to Russia because he's Russian.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, that'll end that quiz. I mean, it's a lot harder than it seems. And if you guys, we want to know how you guys did too, because I think Paul, at the end of this, when we tally it up, I think Paul ended up pulling it out.
yeah, I mean, you definitely should have had a few of them, but
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely should have had.
When you get put on the spot like that, it's not easy. Yeah, so we're gonna carry on with the team that we just briefly discussed was the Tampa Bay Lightning, who is by far the best team in the league. And arguably, for me personally, I think they could be the best team of all time. I know it's hard to really argue that at this point because they haven't won the cup yet. Or if they are going to win. But they've clinched the President's Trophy with 10 games remaining. And it's just their team as a whole is by far second to none in the league for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, you were just showing me a video of their power play, how they get it done.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying they enter the zone so swiftly. They throw it to the offense, then back to the defense, and they enter the zone. And they enter with like a 1-3-1 formation, and they actually like play their power play out with that 1-3-1 formation. Guy in front of the net and three guys kind of in a line with their back D. I guess it would be Hedman on the back end there, and then they what that does is just offers so many seams for passes to go through, and because Tampa has so many different guys that can finish, right? So it's like they have so many different options. Obviously, you want to get to Stamkos on the far left side with that right-hand shot, but I mean, they have equal power play goals almost from the likes of Kucherov, Braden Point, and Stamkos. So that power play has definitely been a part of the reason why they're so good.
Oh, 100%. And they're actually, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you put it like that. Like they are the first power play unit in the league right now. They're just overall dominant. Because if you actually look at their power play and you see a video of it, no matter how they do it, they always end up in that 1-3-1 area, or when they enter the zone, it's always that 1-3-1, and it just sets up everything so beautifully. And like, there's so many different weapons that they have on that power play. Like, you could get a bomb of a shot from Victor Hedman. You can get that snipe from either Kucherov or Stamkos. Then you got Braden Point right in the middle in the slot. So I mean, like, you can't really go wrong. This team is just second to none. And they're even the first in the penalty kill right now. So I don't know, like, this team, you can't do anything wrong with it. I don't know. Yeah,
and obviously we're gonna get into talking about how great they are as a team, like historically. But we're also gonna talk about how we feel they can do in the postseason, because that's where I think that. Why we're talking about them is we think their game can translate to the postseason, and ultimately, I think we both see them winning the cup.
Oh yeah, they're. I mean, we're gonna save that for a little later, but I know they're gonna make a huge cup run.
Yeah. So I'll start with this. Tampa Bay at the present time has played 74 games and has 118 points, which is unbelievable. They already clinched President's Trophy, the second fastest team to clinch President's Trophy in NHL history, and they just need a total of 14 points to tie the 76-77 Montreal Canadiens for 132 points in a season. And in order to do that, they'll have to go 7-1 down the stretch.
Do you know who they're going to be playing? Do you have an idea who they're playing? It'd probably be all in the Atlantic, or more so.
Yeah, they definitely have all Atlantic teams almost. It's a tough stretch. Start with Carolina Hurricanes, you're doing unreal. Blues,
I think they'll get them.
Bruins, Capitals, and then they got the Sens, Canadians, Maple Leafs, and Bruins. So 7 out of 8, really hard test.
And 2 of them are for the Bruins, who we deem that might be a big, big opponent for them.
I mean, their season series against the Bruins is really good right now. But obviously the Bruins are going to be bringing it that game because they want it to be like a statement game.
Oh, yeah.
So those will be fun games to watch. But yeah, no, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're unbelievable, and that's when you're being compared to like the 76-77 Montreal Canadiens, who I believe were voted the NHL's best team of all time.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I think no.
They were voted the best
Really?
team of all time.
When was this?
By the NHL.
Oh. See, well, I mean, because what I'm
for their 100th anniversary. Remember, they had the votes of the NHL's best of all time.
Yeah. I just thought that was players. I didn't know that was the actual team. But like the teams that I was comparing them to for the best of all time was the 84-85 Oilers, who had the likes of Gretzky, Curry, Coffey, Messier. They were like. To give you an idea, they had 6 Hall of Famers on that team, and you can take this for what you want. Really, they had the second best power play unit and the 10th best PK, but they won the cup as well. So I mean, take that for what you want, or take it for what it's worth. And I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, they don't have those Hall of Famers, but it's hard to also compare because it's in different eras, right? So. You could say that the Lightning could have done even better with this team that they have right now back in those days as well. But again, it's a different era.
Yeah, and plus it's a different era. I believe scoring in the NHL as a whole is the highest it's been since the 80s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that makes it even more astonishing that the Lightning are putting up these point totals. They have the leading goal scorer, a leading point getter in Kucherov on their team. And they're unstoppable.
Yeah, they are. I don't know. For me, also, I was looking at the 01-02 Red Wings, who I personally think is the best team of all time. Just with who they had. They had Shanahan, Fedorov, Hall, Lidstrom, Yzerman, Robitaille, had Hasek as their goalie, Chelios on their back end. I mean, this team was just, there was so much depth. Like, there was no, like, if you think about it, like, all those Hall of Famers, all of them were 1 through 8 on the scoring list for the Red Wings during that time. Like, it was unbelievable if you look it up. Like, they have, again, take it for what you want. Second in power play, 8th in PK during that time. They won the cup as well. So I'm just saying that, like, you could argue at the end of the season, if Tampa Bay wins the cup, that they could be the best of all time.
Potentially, for sure. I mean, obviously, we've seen the best of all time. I think we don't usually base it on one season. I think it's always either the start of the dynasty or the end of the dynasty, but it involves a dynasty. So, and that brings up another question. Do you think the Tampa Bay Lightning can start a dynasty?
I believe so. I think they've, or I think they've already done it from last season as well.
Yep.
Like I said before on the other podcast, like, I don't know if you agree with me, but like Yzerman pretty much developed this team. He made this team. He brought in Ryan McDonough, who was a great fit for the back end, who really complements a guy like Hedman, who takes the pressure off him. Braden Point was a 3rd round pick, and the guy has just been on fire since he's made the league, and he's making a great team even better. So they have all the pieces there, and from last season, from what I saw, they should have won the cup last year. And they have a young goalie in Vasilevsky. I think this team has already started their dynasty, and they'll win multiple cups with the team that they have now.
Well, you heard it here first. We believe that Tampa Bay is going to win multiple cups, and I think if there's a certainty in a year they could win, I think it is this year.
I 100% agree.
And I think, if you look back to past dominant teams, like
Chicago.
Yeah, but like a regular season dominant team such as the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh yeah.
Obviously they've had a couple playoff failures during that stretch, but they end up winning. And I think Tampa Bay's paid their dues in the playoffs, and that's why I think they have enough experience to make it work. And they also have a team that's not afraid to grind. Like you look at Kucherov in the playoffs, he hits. And, he doesn't play soft. And Tampa Bay's not a soft team. We're going to get into teams we think are a little soft, such as Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And, yeah, to me, I think Tampa Bay all the way.
Yeah, 100% agree. And a little, like, a note that I'm sure you guys have heard, Stamkos just passed Vinny Lecavalier for most goals of all time. He just scored his 384th goal, which was in that game that they clinched the President's Trophy. So, like, it was just such a big night for them. But they're not taking that lightly. They're still going to go hard from here on into the playoffs. Like, they know what they're doing. They have a game plan set, and they're going to stick to it, and which is fantastic because it's what they need to do to make a successful cup run. It's just, I don't know, like we were talking earlier, it's just kind of seems a little interesting that 383 goals was the max that Lecavalier had. It just seems a little low.
Yeah. I definitely get that. Another thing about Tampa, though, is they got their guys, for the most part, locked up.
Yeah.
They got their defenseman. Their goalie, I think, is a few years away in Vasilevsky in getting re-signed, but you know what? This is a team that locked off Kucherov for $9.5 million the next 8 years. They locked up Stammer. I think they're going to get Point because they have such a team that people want to play for. Mm-hmm. So they can always attract those free agents or even their own players when they re-sign them. They always get them at a discount. They also have the no state tax, so they're basically able to out-negotiate another team by about $2 to $3 million for those higher end salaries, that is. But yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to pay a pretty good price tag for, like Braden Point's gonna have a big price tag this coming season. Like, since he's an RFA as well, like, can you see him doing what Nylander did?
Braden Point, I think he's gonna get a full no move clause.
Well, yeah.
And I think he's going to get around $7 or $8 million.
Oh, he's going to get more than that.
No, he's getting 7 or 8.
You watch. Kidding? He's been
but he wants to stay in Tampa.
He's been at times the best player in Tampa.
But he knows that Tampa can't afford to pay like if a team tries to offer sheet him, he knows that he won't be able to accept it.
Well,
or he knows that Tampa won't be able to accept
it. Okay, let me ask you this question. Who would you rather have, Point or Rantanen?
I mean, Point has gotten most of his goals on the power play.
Yeah, but he's a centerman.
He's got like 20 points, 20 goals or something on the power play, right?
But answer my question. Like, who would you rather have?
Mikko Rantanen.
Really? See, I would rather have Braden Point. It's just it's like the issue. Like we're going to talk about it a little later, but it's like a Matthews and Marner situation. You have your centerman and you have your winger. So like I'm just saying that I would rather have the centerman. You can build off of that, and if Stamkos has like an off night, you can throw Point into that position, right?
Yeah.
So for me, and because Rantanen is gonna get paid, so I would assume that Points are gonna at least ask for 10 mil, and I don't know, it's gonna be a tricky situation for them.
But I think if you're Tampa and you can out negotiate another team, I think if you're Tampa, you have to use your no state tax to your advantage, and you got to stay right in the line where his market value is, our RFA status, and you got to make sure you put that number where it works for you. Because this is a team that can't afford to move off a $5 million defenseman or something. They need those pieces that play a lot of minutes for them. So,
well, that's why I didn't understand the Ryan McDonough contract. They signed him $6.7 million for, what was it, 5 years or 6 years or something.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense.
I mean, he is a really good defenseman.
Oh, he is. Don't get me wrong, but he's 29, and they knew they had a Point coming in. I don't know. It was just it kind of threw me off just looking at Tampa Bay, because they need they want to sign those guys. I think they could have gotten somebody not as good as McDonough, but somebody just a lower tier than him, and it could have made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Overall, just Tampa Bay in general, like I said, it could be the best team of all time.
Speaking of teams, Toronto, what do you think?
Oh, man. Toronto fans. I don't know what to tell you. Just these past few weeks have just not worked in their favor. They've won a few games, sure, but the losses that they've had, they've lost big. I think it was 21 goals in 3 or 4 games, 24 goals in 4 games or something like that. And you could just you can tell that they're just so offensively heavy that their defense is so lacking. There's no depth whatsoever on the back end.
Yeah, and they got Jake Muzzin because they thought he could fit into their top 4, even their top 2, and play with Morgan Rielly. But he's not even playing with Morgan Rielly right now. What they envision is he takes over, he plays his offside, or Rielly plays the right side because they're both left shot D, and that would allow Ron Hainsey to move down a line into a better role for Ron Hainsey because he's kind of an aging defenseman. Yeah. Right?
Oh yeah, he's 36 years old, and it's saying something when Ron Hainsey's on your top power or your top defensive unit with Morgan Rielly. Jake Muzzin should be on there, but Zaitsev has not lived up to expectations. Justin Hull and Zinaganov have just came into the league, and they're kind of relying on those guys to be their last pair of defense with barely any experience, right? So I don't know. There's a lot of going on that needs to happen for Toronto. They need to fix their defense, because at this point, if they play a team like Boston, I don't feel comfortable saying that they're going to beat them in the playoffs. I don't know about you, but because as it sets right now, and it hasn't changed in a while, that's the team who they're playing in the first round.
And who's been the best player for the Toronto Maple Leafs all year?
Well, Morgan Rielly has been up there.
Well, I would say Freddie Anderson. And Freddie Anderson has fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
And to me, I think what made Toronto fans feel better was the fact that they thought, hey, if we go against Boston in the first round, we got the better goalie. And I think even though I think Freddie Anderson's a better goalie than, say, Tuukka Rask, I still think it's closer now, and especially when you look at the defense of Boston and how that lineup plays, the chemistry they always have year to year. No matter who Boston puts on their third line, he always ends up being awesome.
Yeah.
They definitely know how to make a good team. And to me, I look at Kyle Dubas and I go, you should have done more. You should have predicted this happening. At the very beginning of the year, if you were to give me the odds of the Toronto Maple Leafs playing the Boston Bruins in the first round, I would have said there's a 60% chance of that happening.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
To me, they didn't prepare enough because they thought, hey, you know what? Maybe it won't happen this year. Maybe we won't play the Bruins, but I think they should have just flat out prepared for it from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. they're trying to rely too much on skill and not a lot of like grittiness. Because if you look at their top two lines, there's nobody that in there except Tavares, who's a big body presence. There's like it's just all skill. So, and when you get to their third and fourth lines, they're all small guys. It's pretty crazy if you look at it. That's why I don't think that they can beat a team like Boston. They don't have the fight in them or the grittiness or like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. Then when you get to their defense, it's just lacking.
So, you mentioned there was a press conference that caught your eye with like both Babcock and Dubas maybe being at ends.
Yeah, like Babcock, like I'm paraphrasing here, but he was saying along the lines of like he doesn't have enough, and I get that, and it was more of a shot at the front office saying like you didn't give me enough to work with, because when they get into the playoffs, like we don't really know what's going to happen. And that was another thing I brought up to you before was, do you think if, say, Toronto gets out first round, is Babcock, I don't know, looking over his shoulder being like, well, am I getting fired here?
Yeah, you know what? I definitely think Babcock is safe. Although I will say, I mean, he's got to change something because, you know, to me, I sometimes think that his coaching habits stunt players in their growth, maybe their confidence. Like, and I question pretty much everything he does in terms of like line management and everything. But yeah, the thing is, he's the highest paid coach in the league, I believe.
Right, and he has 4 years left.
Yeah, so
I don't know. Like, I would have a really strong look at it, but I do agree that he'll probably stay at least one more season. And you were saying before, but it can't really happen. Well, the Nylander contract, right? He just signed, but this year he has a $10.2 million cap hit, which is the cap hit, and then next year it goes to 6.2. So what Paul and I were discussing, but can't unless a team has really deep pockets at this point at the draft. If say they do go, don't get well, if they want to try to get rid of Nylander to try to make room to sign a guy like Marner, they can't trade him for a high-end pick at the draft because nobody's going to want to take on that $10.2 million until they get the free agency when it drops down to 6.2. So they put themselves into a really weird spot, I find, and I don't know how they're really going to deal with things.
Yeah, I am curious how that works because I know that you can sign guys to contract. Like I'm pretty sure you can be 10% over your cap in free agency. Mm-hmm. There's a certain deadline where you have to have everything at the cap limit.
Right. Yeah. So like what I was saying before, I think once they hit free agency and they have to sign Marner, I think that's when they should try to shed a contract like Nylander's. So that way the cap hit's a lot lower and they can get a good defense. But I don't know, we were talking about it too. Like Philadelphia is a good example of a team that he could go to. A team like Carolina is a team that they have a lot of defensemen that they could go after. I don't know. There's a lot of options that Nylander presents, and I don't know. It's a really, really interesting on what they could do in the future. I don't know, Toronto, I don't know what to say right now because we'll have to see at the end of the season who they really play, if it is going to be Boston. But I'm not liking the team right now. They're not playing as a unit.
All right, boys. So now we're going to be rating the sickest flows in the league of today and past. So first up, we got Brock Besser. Braydon, out of 10.
I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the long locks, the blonde. I don't know. Everything just works well on a good hockey flow with him. Even if you see him without his helmet on, it just flows.
I mean, one thing I will say is that he could go for some more length, but he's definitely has that thickness in the hair, which I think is important to a hockey flow.
Absolutely.
I give him 8.5 Although I will say, Brock Besser, if you want to get a higher score, you need to grow it out a little bit longer.
That's actually what I was going to point out. That's why it was such a lower score. It needs to grow out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of that, Erik Karlsson.
You know what? I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. I don't think he's as good as Brock Besser.
I actually would give him a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
It's just because of how long it is, and he actually has one of the nice set of hair in the league.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that Brock Besser can grow out a nice, like, even flow with with next to no product. I mean, he says he uses Head and Shoulders. Quick plug there. Yeah, it's okay, Brock. And like, to me, Karlsson, his hair is much to do with the products that he puts in, whereas Brock Besser just has naturally great locks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're not wrong there. Okay, so for the next guy, Luc Robitaille in his rookie year.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. What I like about Luc Robitaille's hair is how dark brown it is. To me, dark brown hair just comes out really nice, and especially when it's long. And yeah.
No, I give it a 7 out of 10 personally.
A 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, I didn't grade it yet. I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. It's not complete to me. It's a nice flow, but it's just not complete.
But is the length good?
It's getting there.
It's getting. So you like it a little longer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So speaking of a guy with really, really long hair who played, Chris Simon. This guy has the longest set of hair I think we've ever seen in the NHL. You could look at it and be like, oh, that's pretty greasy, but at the same time, it's a pretty sick flow.
Hey man, I look greasy sometimes. It's all good. It's all about the flow.
Exactly.
To me, he's got the length. You gotta give him marks for that.
Mm-hmm.
For overall style, though, gotta bring him down a little bit compared to the other guys.
Yep.
The other guys have naturally good hair. I give him a 7.5.
I give it an 8 personally.
An 8. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the next guy, Peter Forsberg.
The faux pas. Forsberg. Fun fact: Peter Forsberg actually was one of the first investors in Crocs, and rumor has it he's made more money off of selling Crocs than he has playing hockey, which is unreal because he signed some big tickets.
Yeah, no kidding. So what do you rank it?
Yeah, speaking of his hair,
yeah, let's get back to that.
You know what? I give him a 10.
Wow. See, I think it's just so simple. I think it's way too simple.
But he's got the natural hair flow.
True.
Which is what Swedes tend to have.
See, it's a 6.5 to 7 for me. It's just too simple. All right. Well, moving on. So we're gonna get to Al Iafrate, and this guy has the most weird, bizarre set of the hair on his head is just ridiculous. There's like a patch in the middle, and it looks like a little island, and it's just ball around. Plus, then he has the long hair in the back.
What's that name again?
Al Iafrate, I think.
Okay, yeah. I just took a look at it. I'm looking at it. It's a 3 for me. I mean, I respect the effort. Obviously, with that salad, you can't really grow it, but hey, he doesn't care. So.
No. I mean, I gave it a 3 as well. It's definitely not up there for me.
All right, Patty Kane.
Patty Kane.
You know what? I like it. I like the length. I like everything. I'm gonna give him an 8.
Yeah, I gave it a 7 just because, again, it's the length's not there.
Yeah, but he's Patrick Kane. You got to up it for greatness. Like, what do you think I did with Peter Forsberg? I upped it for greatness.
Sure.
Which, speaking of greatness, our last and final candidate
has to be the top guy, Jaromir Jagr. It's a solid 10 out of 10 in my books. Like, you can't beat the best mullet of all time.
Yeah, and 10 out of 10, he's got that dark hair that we're talking about, looks good long, and he's got the perfect length. He changes it up during his career, and to me, he's.
Yep, he's the epitome of the sickest flow in the NHL.
Yep. Right, boys. Well, that's an epi.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Dirty Dangles Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dirty Dangles HB, where you guys can drop us a follow and give us some questions, because we would love to do a segment involving you guys. It's a huge thing that Paul and I have wanted to do, and we want to just do any questions that we want to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Send us your questions.
Absolutely. And you guys can also follow us on YouTube and just search up Dirty Dangles, and you'll find us. Subscribe and drop us a like.
Chica.
And yeah, leave us a comment. We would really appreciate it. Again, we really appreciate the listen. And until next time, Dirty
Dangles.